Hello, Busby. Ta-da! In a vibrant green garden, where colorful flowers bloomed and graceful butterflies fluttered, lived a tiny, cute fly named Busby. Busby had big, sparkly eyes and delicate, see-through wings. But Busby wasn't like the other flies. While his friends buzzed around, looking for sweet dewdrops on leaves or yummy crumbs, Busby had a much bigger dream. Every night when the sky turned dark, Busby would fly as high as his tiny wings could carry him. He loved to gaze at the twinkling stars, which looked like tiny diamonds scattered across a velvet cloth. Most of all, he adored the shimmering Milky Way, stretching across the sky like a magical river of light. Oh, if only I could touch the Milky Way, Busby would often whisper to himself. He dreamt of finding something truly special, something that sparkled, just like the wondrous galaxy he admired so much. Could a little fly like Busby really achieve such a grand dream? One beautiful morning, as the warm sun painted the garden in golden hues, Busby was gently exploring a patch of white daisies. Suddenly, he heard a tiny little eep-eep. Busby flew closer and saw a pretty ladybug named Twinkle trying to climb a small twig, but her little legs slipped and she tumbled into a squishy puddle of soft mud. Twinkle's bright red wings, with their neat black spots, were now covered in mud, and she looked very sad. "Hello there," Busby said softly. "Do you need some help?" Twinkle looked up, her eyes wide and wet. "I'm stuck, and I can't get out by myself." Busby didn't hesitate for a second. He landed carefully beside the puddle and, using his tiny legs, gently pushed a dry blade of grass toward Twinkle. "Grab onto this grass, and I'll pull you up." Twinkle clung to the grass blade, and Busby pulled with all his might. Even though he was small, Busby was very determined. Slowly but surely, Twinkle was pulled free from the mud. Busby even used a tiny leaf to carefully wipe the mud from Twinkle's wings. "Oh, you're so kind, Busby," Twinkle chirped happily. "Thank you so much. I'm Twinkle, and it's so nice to meet you." From that moment on, Busby and Twinkle became the best of friends. Twinkle, with her warm heart, often shared the prettiest flowers she found, and Busby would tell Twinkle all about his dream of touching the Milky Way. A little while later, on a gently sunny afternoon, Busby and Twinkle were playing hide-and-seek among the rose bushes. Suddenly, they heard a loud thump, followed by a grumbling sound. "Oh dear, not again!" It was Strider, a little cockroach with long, wobbly antennae and slightly clumsy legs. Strider was very kind and always cheerful, but he was a bit silly and accident-prone. He often stumbled over things. This time, Strider had tripped over a tree root and landed right in the middle of a pile of dry leaves. "Are you all right, Strider?" Twinkle asked, a little worried. Strider giggled, trying to get up. "I'm fine, I was looking for a little red berry I dropped. It rolled away somewhere." Busby and Twinkle exchanged amused glances. They knew Strider often lost things. So the three friends began to search together. Busby flew around, his sharp eyes scanning everywhere. Twinkle carefully lifted each dry leaf, and Strider clumsily pushed aside small pebbles. Finally, Busby spotted a tiny red speck peeking out from under a large rock. It was Strider's berry. Strider jumped for joy, almost tripping again. "You guys are the best! Thank you so much!" From then on, Strider became an inseparable part of Busby and Twinkle's group of friends. They explored the garden together, laughed together, and always helped each other whenever someone needed a hand. One cool evening, as the crescent moon began to peek into the night sky, Busby was flying near the base of an ancient oak tree. This oak tree was enormous, with sprawling branches and a gnarled trunk filled with many small hollows. Busby had never really paid attention to these hollows before. But tonight, a strange, shimmering light caught his eye. From one of the hollows, he saw a soft, gentle glow. It wasn't the blinking light of a firefly, nor was it the cool light of the moon. It was like tiny stars dancing, giving off a magical, ethereal light. Busby's heart thumped with excitement. He quickly flew back to find Twinkle and Strider. "Friends, I found something truly special, more special than anything I've ever seen." The three friends flew together to the oak tree hollow. As they got closer, the light became even clearer and more dazzling. Inside the hollow, there were hundreds, thousands of tiny glowing particles. They floated gently, creating an enchanting scene, like a miniature universe. "Oh," Twinkle gasped, her eyes wide with wonder. "It's so beautiful. It looks like a dream." Strider's eyes were huge and his mouth hung open. "What is this? Is it the Milky Way? I've never seen anything so pretty." Busby couldn't believe his eyes. This was exactly what he had always dreamt of. These sparkling particles weren't dust or pollen. They were tiny fragments of a special kind of mineral that glowed in the dark. When they gathered inside the hollow, they formed a miniature Milky Way, hidden right in the heart of the garden. "Yes," Busby whispered, his voice filled with awe. "This is our very own Milky Way. It's small, but it's real." But the joy didn't last long before Busby noticed a small problem. The hollow was quite deep, and there were several tiny cracks at the bottom and around the edges. If a strong gust of wind blew through, or if someone accidentally brushed against it, these precious glowing particles could fall out and be lost forever. Busby felt a pang of worry. "We have to protect this Milky Way," Busby declared, his voice firm. "It's too beautiful and precious to lose." Twinkle nodded in agreement. "You're right. What should we do? How can we keep them safe?" Strider, though sometimes a bit clumsy, surprisingly came up with a clever idea. "We can use little leaves and tiny pebbles to fill the cracks. Then we can make a small door out of tree bark to cover the outside to protect our Milky Way." Strider's idea was brilliant. So, the three little friends got to work. Twinkle, with her nimble wings, flew off to find the smallest, softest leaves to gently tuck into the tiny cracks. The ladybug was meticulous, making sure no gap was left uncovered. Busby flew all over the garden, his keen eyes searching for small, perfectly shaped pebbles to fill the slightly larger holes. He carried each pebble back, placing them precisely into position. And Strider, using his strength, pushed larger pebbles to form a sturdy little wall around the edge of the hollow. He even found a flat piece of bark and with great effort pushed it over to the hollow to serve as a door. They worked tirelessly. Sometimes Strider would stumble and drop the pebbles he was carrying, but he'd just giggle and pick them up again. Sometimes Twinkle had trouble lifting a leaf that was a bit too big, but Busby was always there to lend a wing. They worked together, laughed together, and overcame every little challenge. They knew they were doing something very important, protecting a true wonder. As night fell, they had finished their work. The oak tree hollow was now carefully protected. The light from the Milky Way inside shone out, sparkling and ethereal, as if smiling in thanks to the three little friends. Busby gazed at the dancing, glowing particles in the hollow. He felt a profound joy spreading through his heart, but not just because he had found something so sparkly. The joy came from the fact that he had, together with his best friend's kind, Twinkle and lovable Strider, protected this precious treasure. "Friends," Busby said, his voice full of gratitude and warmth. "Thank you all so very much. Because of you, this Milky Way is safe and beautiful." Twinkle smiled sweetly. "We're friends, Busby. Helping each other is what friends do." Strider nodded his head vigorously, his long antennae wiggling. "Exactly! The most fun part was working with you guys. Together, we can do anything!" From that day forward, every evening, Busby, Twinkle, and Strider would visit the Milky Way in the oak tree hollow. They didn't just admire its magical beauty. They also shared happy stories, little joys, and even their small worries of the day. The mysterious oak tree hollow became a cherished sanctuary for their dreams and their friendship. Busby realized that the most valuable things in the world aren't always big or far away. The most precious things are true, friendship, warmth, sharing, and simple kindness. When we help each other, when we face challenges together, we create wonders that sparkle brighter than any galaxy in the night sky. And those wonders are more beautiful than all the stars combined.